until the 70s, my friends.
Those who know me know I love trivia and I love prizes and I love goodie bags and all that goes with it. So we are going to teleport back to kindergarten and raise our hands. Please don't shout out the answers because I won't be able to give you a prize. It's very easy. First trivia question. Who played the character Hawkeye Pierce on the TV series MASH? Mary, come get your prize. Come on down.
Wow. It's one of my favorite shows. Thanks.
Nice.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for coming. I love this. It's like a sold-out stand-up show. I just love it. This was the first essay I ever wrote and brought to Marcel's class a while back. A very Partridge childhood. Perched in my beanbag chair on our olive green rug, I listened to Cherish, a Hallmark David Cassidy love song. I imagined it was written for me, but knew I had competition. He was every adolescent girl's crush. It was 1974. I was 9, sandwiched between 12, 10, and 8-year-old siblings. At the time, the Partridge Family show rocked and bell-bottoms ruled. The Partridge Family was a staple in our home. It was Friday night appointment television. Saturdays were spent in our basement recreating the prior evening's episode, belting out those signature tunes for a captive audience of 2, our affirming parents. Our band consisted of Joyce, 3 years my senior, Billy, 1 year older, and Lois, a year younger, our very own Tracy Partridge. We even recruited my mom on occasion for a few memorable numbers. She was our Shirley, and she was game. I lived for David Cassidy and modeled my look after his pretend sister, Lori Partridge, deftly played by Susan Day, parting my hair down the middle with laser precision. I'd don a pirate-worthy ruffled blouse and rust corduroy vest. Steadied by my brown curved earth shoes, I'd sing an audition-ready version of I Think I Love You into the mirror, complete with heartfelt gestures. And love Keith Partridge I did. Those dimples, the trend-setting shag, the puka beads, the Tiger Beat magazine covers, the whole package. He was the epitome of awesome for tweens and teenagers alike. As a child, I anxiously awaited my birthday and Christmas so I could accumulate more Partridge stuff. Talk about a merchandising bonanza. The memorabilia for all things Partridge seemed unmatched. I had it all. The metal lunchboxes and thermoses, the color forms and posters, even the sought-after Viewmaster set. Not to mention every Partridge Family vinyl record, which now double as eBay hopefuls. One album cover even shared each member's favorite food and color. Keith liked steak and the color brown. I would be remiss not to mention the band's sugar-coated, irresistible music, their ultimate legacy, those can't get 'em out of your head songs, which to my husband's horror, take up ample space on my playlist. They're still keepers. There's just no competing with the spot-on lyrics and irresistible choreography of Point Me in the Direction of Albuquerque. In fact, an entire episode was written around the song's indelible words, Lonely Little Runaway with Teardrops in Her Eyes. The YouTube video barely does it justice, but is worth a gander nonetheless. It's my treadmill anthem, and rightly so. Attention, Partridge wannabes. The online rendition of I Can Hear Your Heartbeat is no slouch either. It was a simpler time in music. Partridge songs showcased vintage Keith and his TV family, singing and swaying in color-coordinated polyester, and for me, that was enough. I dreamt in Technicolor and woke up with ba 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 on the brain. I often wondered why we too couldn't own a checkered school bus during that gas-starved decade. Years later, when Saturday Night Live aired a skit pitting the Bradys against my Partridges in a dramatic battle of the bands, I fiercely rooted for Keith and his crew. I cheered because David Cassidy, clad in crushed velvet, represented the innocence of a generation. I cheered because he alone captured the bubblegum culture of the times. I cheered for all the young girls of the 70s. A benign facade, the Partridge Family was not only integral primetime television, but a vital thread in the fabric of my childhood. Growing up, my dream of Fantasy Island proportions was to be a Partridge kid. And every Friday night for 4 memorable years, I was, hairbrush, microphone, and all. I still relish our jam session-filled Friday nights and saw a modern-day David in concert before he died in 2017. 7 times. That's right. I spent good money on tickets to hear him croon Partridge Family Classic and attempted to live the magic. And so did droves of other spirited 50-somethings who, like me, still pined away for Keith/David. He was the teen idol of the 1970s, the dual personality, male Hannah Montana of our youth. It made no difference which persona appeared on stage. My family and I went to one of his concerts a decade back. My mother was in her 70s. Some fans brought albums, others carried scrapbooks. I went bearing roses. Yes, roses. I drove to the local market pre-concert and shelled out $12.99 for a dozen red roses, complete with rubber-banded flower food, for the heartthrob of yesteryear. To my sister's mortification, I stormed the stage during the encore and extended my hand to David. Roses in hand, he sang with that mesmerizing voice, making midlifers swoon still. We made eye contact, and for a moment, I was his girl. Okay. Liner notes. I saw David Cassidy's final concert at B.B. King's in New York City. He wasn't quite the suave, puka beads sporting David I'd grown up with, but peppered moments of his 70s charm still shone through. And for that, it was worth the trip to see my guy one last time. So we're going to move it over from pop culture to family, another big theme in my book. So anyone who's not related to me is safe for this one. Holiday drama. Can I just be the video guy? Mark asked on Christmas a few years back. He's been a willing participant in my family's annual nativity reenactment for a good quarter of a century and sought a reprieve from the spotlight. You know the deal. Everyone's in the play. Just go with it, I said. Mark didn't respond, but instead was in hushed conversation with my European brother-in-law, Luigi, who seemed to share his sentiment. My mom sensed their hesitation and caved. She allowed Mark to film the show and dubbed Luigi the narrator, who then delivered a distinguished prelude. The two of them hail from quieter Christmases and preferred their involvement not require a wardrobe change. Conversely, Dan, my remaining brother-in-law, is a trooper, an only child who enters into the fun. My family is a creative bunch. Raised by a drama teacher and a lawyer, we are a verbal brood. We revel in holiday happenings, and each Christmas, my mother directs a home pageant, complete with authentic costumes and a loose script. Improvisation is encouraged. Newcomers often marvel at our production. This theatrical display is the norm for our family, but for outsiders, it's deemed uncommon. A usual holiday boasts a minimum of 25 relatives, a few friends, and the occasional new spouse, significant other, or child. We have a rolling admissions policy. Visitors are welcome year-round. At our Christmases, there is room at the inn. Presents are exchanged up front, then the play begins between the main course and dessert. It is a palate cleanser of sorts, the sorbet of entertainment. I bring costumes and props that have been housed in my basement for a year. Shepherd's garb and angel wings are among the dormant outfits. We then sardine into my mom's living room for the distribution of colorful attire. Striped ponchos and earth-tone scarves, sturdy staffs and headgear to include herdsmen's hats fashioned from draped fabric and rope. I scatter stuffed animals amid the makeshift manger. My mother appoints roles and most graciously accept, with the exception of a few last-minute trades among the disappointed. The younger actors are told to get in costume, stand on the stairs, and wait for their cues, giving more weight to their entrances. Mark, the pleased documentarian, takes backstage footage rife with forced poses and faux interviews in a VH1 Behind the Music vein. Perfect fodder for a best of compilation. In an effort to quiet offstage chatter, my mother will say, "The townspeople and wise men were off in the distance, peacefully making their journey to meet the newborn Savior." With 6 grandchildren, 5 of whom are boys, we've been flush with baby Jesuses over the years. But now they're teens and beyond fudging it. My sons, Grant and Cameron, took rotating turns and had a decade-long run. The new understudy is an American girl doll named Madison, nabbed from my niece, who I swaddle in a time-worn gymboree blanket. With long brown locks, each year I reprise my role as Mary, and my 2 sisters, Joyce and Lois, make for spirited angels, one who can actually sing on high. They even don wings pre-show to get into character. They're full-on method. My brother Billy, with his built-in beard, is usually Joseph, and the nephews and nieces, sole niece, vie for the power trip-worthy 3 king spots. It's all about the crowns. First, we had those of the paper Burger King ilk, but they've been replaced by plushed, bejeweled numbers akin to those that magically appear in old Imperial margarine commercials. The kings also sport fur-lined velvet Lillian Verne capes for added street cred. Last year, we went Hollywood and sprung for Santa and Mrs. Claus suits, commercial characters we now incorporate at the show's close. My mother is a storyteller at heart. One drama class in graduate school changed the course of her life and, in turn, that of her offspring. Still vibrant at 78, she is a dark-eyed, dark-haired Colombian who carries herself with a quiet elegance and love for play. She revels in fun. My late father was always game for a repeat performance. Cast as head shepherd in residence, he applauded my mom's efforts. With age, some relatives have grown a tad less enthusiastic about our production, now eagerly offering to take pictures or be stagehands, but are guilted into, at the very least, a villager's part. The grandchildren still enthusiastically join in, but it's first-time guests, like a cousin's girlfriend, who double as scene stealers. They approach their portrayals with refreshing fervor and have been known to use an old-timey accent and dramatic gestures for added effect. They relish their newfound fame, perhaps to seek redemption for not being cast as the lead in a grade school play. Or maybe it's an experience that's escaped them altogether. Regardless, they want in. And my mother, who prompts our lines, knows how to bring out the best performance in everyone. Then Joseph questioned the innkeeper, she'd say. She's a director's director. Everyone's a star on Christmas. Our holiday pageants take on a different spin each year. Some are marked by surprise bloopers, others by poignant moments. One year, we spontaneously broke into song, a heartfelt rendition of Little Drummer Boy, when my Uncle Johnny kept a steady beat with newly unwrapped toy bongos. A teacher first, my mother has a penchant to educate with an artistic flair. The holidays take on the aura of a play-based preschool. Our productions themselves are touchstones, constants upon which we can rely. They are the very essence of home. So too, our plays provide the comfort of routine rooted in tradition. They are at once the core of our gatherings, the means by which we celebrate not only the season, but also the collective talents and force that is our family. After the show, I gather costumes haphazardly strewn about and glimpse Mark giving the dessert crowd a proud preview of his newly minted film. Liner notes. My mom is now 85 and has moved from my childhood home, though I can still see her packed living room home to our pageant and feel all that went with it. The costumes continue to be at the ready for an impromptu encore. Thank you.
What are the challenges of writing a book of essays, which is different than a novel or a memoir?
Right. Well, I think the very biggest challenge would be time, just finding the time. And I was given the gift of time. I guess the one good thing that came out of lockdown and COVID was this book, because all of us are living our lives with work and family and doing all the things. So to do something that's your passion or your hobby, you really have to fit it in on the side. And I just remember thinking, well, we're all home. I never get writer's block. And I had the stories, and I think it's important to share your stories. I love it when people connect, when they relate to something in the book. And so it was just a matter of making the time and also finding the team. Behind every book, there are a supportive bunch of folks, a wonderful editor, a proofreader, a formatter, a cover designer, just writing friends, comedy friends, anyone who I could get to read my essays to, just catch things that when you're too close to it, sometimes it's hard to catch typos and such, and to just get their thoughts. So time and the team.
Time and the team.
Yeah.
That sounds great. How is it, again, it's different than a memoir or a novel. How did you choose the essays that you assembled in fun? You have written many more essays, even than those in the book, and published. So.
Yeah. Oh, God, it was so hard. I mean, they're all my babies. I mean, I say that, and it's kind of true because you put your heart and soul into it. And I've been writing essays for a long, long time. People mostly know me from PR, so this was just a little hidden gem. My next door neighbor was like, that was what you were doing during COVID. But so basically, it was kind of like, I guess, what a rock star does with an album, right? You kind of have a vision and see a story, and it has to be cohesive. So I wanted a balance. I wanted short and long, funny and poignant, some that were funny and poignant, which is kind of my sweet spot. And it just all had to make sense. I remember we actually went over to Marcel's writing studio one day, decided on which essays made the cut, and literally put them on Post-its and put them up on a bulletin board and matched them together like little duets, like Big Aline, Little Aline,
Right.
Mother Aline, Daughter Aline. And then it just made sense once we kind of saw it. But some of them didn't make the cut. A couple didn't make the cut. I did start writing when my kids were very young. I remember one, I'll bring it up because my son Grant's here. So this was a cute story that had the theme of family, and it definitely had potential, but it wasn't just as polished or fleshed out as my later work. It was a story called Tea Time, an essay called Tea Time, and it was about all the mothers being invited to preschool on Mother's Day to have little tea sandwiches and tea, and the kids had to get up. Our last name begins with a W, so Grant was last. They had to have a picture of their mom with her favorite color, food, and drink. And then the audience would have to guess. So every single kid, and I kid you not, like 14 out of the 15 3-year-olds got up, and the mom was, pink was the favorite color, salad was the favorite food, and wine was the favorite drink. So then we get to me, and Grant has, a very nice rendition of me. And he has black water and pasta. And I was like, oh my God, I'm like a grandmother from Sicily right now. I can't even. So even though it was cute and funny and sweet, and then I'll be fair, Cameron also had one when he was little that I wrote an essay about called Grandmother. Until he was 3, he didn't realize my mom was his grandmother. The kids call her Tita, which is a spin-off of Abuelita, because we're Spanish. And he legit thought she was just a family friend named Tita and had a breakdown at swimming lessons because he was there with his buddy Jules, whose grandmother was there, and he was crying hysterically in the car. Granted, he has 2 grandmothers at this point, still does, and is hysterically crying. And I said, what's the matter, honey? And he's like, I want a grandmother. And so I said, you not only have 1, but you have 2. Like, do you not know Tita, the lady who comes over every day? He's like, she's my grandma? So my mom is a teacher. She brought over, of course, 12 books about being a grandmother and grandparents and reintroduced herself to him. And then for 6 months, he called her grandmother. Like, he just wouldn't go back to Tita. So again, cute, family-oriented, just not as polished, didn't make the cut, but, still good keepsakes.
I think a lot of your essays, too, whatever the theme, there's a message of hope.
I try to do that. I'm sort of an upbeat gal.
I'd say so.
And, if you're going to give me the 10 minutes to listen to an essay or read an essay, I like to leave you in, not that everything is,
Right.
like rainbows and unicorns, but I like to
Yes.
be, happy news.
It's certainly a theme in the book, the joy, even in the tough situations, and that's always something I've loved about your writing. As we've already said, Aline makes a lot of references to pop culture as well as family, the love of pop culture, and you really
I know, I'm
live
so
it.
into it. I'm so into it. I've always been this very observational person, right? And growing up, I was just one of those kids that was into like books and movies and music and plays. Of course, plays, as you heard in that last essay, my mom ran a drama school out of our home called Curtain Call. So for me, this was normal, right? Like a typical day in my youth, I would walk home from middle school, like down some grape Kool-Aid and Funyuns, then walk into my living room and morph into Brigitte from The Sound of Music. Like that was just our jam. So I was kind of surrounded by it, and I was just very aware, just really into the arts, and I was an English major, so I feel like they're timestamps, so people who read my essays I hope that they relate in some way. I've got a Barry Manilow concert in there. I've got, a thing on Mary Tyler Moore. So I just think, talking about my 80s hair. So I think that people kind of get it or connect when I mention the pop culture references. I mean, still as an adult, I'm still a little obsessed. Like my Halloween costume has to be the exact tie-in to whatever the headline is that week. Some of you in this room will remember when I was Martha Stewart in jail. I mean, I just couldn't, I know she's from Westport, but I just couldn't not be Martha Stewart in jail. So that's how enthusiastic I am.
How did you come up with the title?
Title, fun.
Fun.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of a party, so that's one thing. No, seriously. I just knew I wanted it to be one word. And which is odd because I'm this sort of title smith and I name other people's brands and books and taglines. But I just wanted one word, and I wanted that word to sort of capture just my approach to life. I just wanted it to be simple, but to sort of mimic my philosophy, and then just the subtitle, Essays on a Life Embraced. I just love the word embraced because in all my essays in the book, I hope you get the message that life is for the taking, and I'm just one who participates. I'm a participant. No matter what I'm doing, like stand-up comedy, planning my college reunion, packing themed goodie bags. I'm just overly enthusiastic and high energy about everything because that's just how I roll. Yeah.
I love the bonus content in the book, the liner notes, the fun facts, the fun meters. Tell us how that came to be.
So I guess when we were picking the essays, I wanted to add these little asides, like these little reflections, kind of break the fourth wall and talk directly to the reader. Because sometimes when I read essays or a book, you kind of wonder, where are they now? That kind of thing. So I thought it was an opportunity to just add a little bit more. And the Q&As, I like to interview my subjects. So a few of those are in there. And then the fun facts, obviously, had to tie into the fun and fun meters. And I just thought they added to it and made it a little quirky, a little different, kind of like a workbook with like these retro graphics, and was just an extra bonus content, as the millennials say.
Can we look forward to funner? Funnest? Funniest? A series here?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go with yes on that one. What singer-songwriter released the album Tapestry in 1971? Oh, back there. Who's got the green? Okay. Carole King, come on down. Leaving home. Should I throw these out? I said, sitting ponytailed in black leggings at Grant's now empty desk. Yes, Danielle said, referring to a batch of birthday cards given to my teenager on his 3rd birthday. I was in the throes of packing up a home Mark, the boys, and I lived in for a dozen years. Our new house was in the same town, only 7.2 minutes away, according to the stopwatch on Cameron's iPhone. Even so, the mere thought of packing or purging was overwhelming. I'd enlisted Danielle, an organization enthusiast, for much-needed assistance. She'd babysat my boys since they were toddlers and knew their allergies, sports schedules, and favorite shows. She'd been my right hand for years and was like a sister. I trusted her. We started emptying the kids' bedroom closets, rifling through remnants of my son's childhoods. How do you decide which infant sailor suit to keep, which Little League trophy or goodie bag gadget to toss, or whether to hermetically seal outfits worn for milestone occasions? Where's the What to Expect book for that? I was ill-prepared for the multitude of split-second decisions necessary for this tedious, sentimental undertaking. Danielle was my Switzerland, a neutral party who could make clear choices when I got caught up in the nostalgia. She created 3 piles: keep, goodwill, and garbage. I wanted to focus, but had a hard time staying on task. A tiny handprint from Cameron's preschool days would leave me in a 20-minute proud mama stupor. The kids couldn't be around for the downsizing. They weren't equipped for the heartache. My boys questioned our piles and fought to keep tangled yo-yos and flashing fire trucks somehow surviving on corroded batteries. I caved when they pleaded to hold fast to their Star Wars lightsabers. Though 13 and 16, They want to keep their Jedi options open. And then there were the costumes. A mummy wrapper, for real, Batman, and a little ninja number. Some were stained, others still sealed in their original packaging. Cameron was notorious for changing his mind after seeing a more enticing superhero suit. They no longer dress up, but kept weathered zombie costumes they argued still fit. Danielle and I diligently added to the piles, but each choice left me feeling guilty. I was abandoning a piece of family history for the garbage collector or secondhand store patron. It was akin to a stage of grief, bargaining, with a running internal debate clouding my judgment. The moving process was an extreme exercise in letting go of what had been. After 2 weeks, our 8 closets were empty. Next, we tackled the basement, cluttered with boxes detailing then 22 years of marriage. It was a bear. We began with stacked containers of faded onesies and gently used maternity wear, elastic waist jeans I didn't realize I still had, but perhaps held on to while entertaining thoughts of a third child. Next up was memorabilia. It was my turn to part with the past. I simply couldn't toss my middle school scrapbook. Switzerland or not, Danielle could not penetrate my resistant force field. Nor could I bid goodbye to my dog-eared concert programs, fuzzy varsity letters, or purple graduation tassels. They were an extension of me, a reflection of where I'd been. My 40-something years lay before me, having been hidden from view for some time. Abandoning those belongings seemed like erasing my youth, like I too would vanish if they were discarded. I saved more than I should have, but rationalized my decisions. This stuff is evidence of my very existence, I said. You'll have stories no matter what you keep, said Danielle. We kept a steady pace until I stumbled upon my late father's yearbook. My dad and I shared a college and a face. I had stored it safely so as not to relive his sudden passing. I stopped packing and paged through it with a newfound vigor. A slight musty smell emerged as I perused the black and white heirloom from 1960. Tears fell on my father's senior picture as I read about his activities and honors. His yearbook transcended the typical keepsake. It was part of him, a piece of his legacy. It would be stored within reach at our new home, sustaining our connection. I needed my father to live on through that yearbook, for me, for my children. After 6 weeks of packing, moving day arrived. I stayed at our house while Mark stacked cardboard boxes and made trips to our new abode. The movers arrived at 7 a.m., but I wasn't prepared to say goodbye to our quiet life on that wooded cul-de-sac. My boys arrived in diapers and left in boxers. My husband changed jobs 3 times. I morphed from stay-at-home mom to business owner, and our 4-bedroom colonial bore witness to it all. I asked the movers to leave a brown couch until the bitter end, so I'd have a place to rest amid the last-minute packing. It was worn and oversized, situated in our family room, where our boys had stretched out for movies and naps. It was the room's lone survivor, but for gold chenille curtains hanging half-closed behind me. I ate leftover macaroni and cheese on a Spider-Man paper plate scavenged from the far end of a kitchen cabinet, while scenes from our days washed over me. I saw card tables pieced together for pizza after laser tag birthday parties. I saw my boys' faces in our living room, the Christmas they got the sought-after Xbox 360. I saw myself among young mothers and toddlers in our playroom, and my husband chopping garlic in the kitchen. In rooms void of belongings, I saw in Technicolor the very details of our collective journey. The following day, I returned to the old house to leave the key for the family who would inhabit the space I still called home. I felt tethered to the place we had painted and renovated, where we had lived and loved. I opened the mailbox and retrieved a stack of mail, only to find it was addressed to the new owners, then smiled, nodded silently, and drove 7.2 minutes into our future. Liner notes. The move was a success, though for the better part of 2 months, I still drove to our old house by mistake. Fun fact, this is totally true. A celebrity from Dancing with the Stars bought the house, which I love. His wife is a dancer, too. The fact that pop culture has been woven into the story and Happy Feet walk our former yet cherished halls makes me smile. And one last one, since we have such a nice day, it talks about a vacation. Family revisited. We're lucky to vacation annually in Bermuda, but one visit, it rained, and rained, and rained some more, for the better part of 2 weeks. Did I mention we were with teenagers? A lot of forced bonding took place, with a hefty dose of electronics use, and a little creativity. Grant, who is not a foodie, binge-watched the 2013 season of MasterChef. Cameron became a fan of the gym. Mark grew a beard. I took a liking to croquet. We excelled at soggy golf, tennis, and snorkeling, but soon grew weary. Our villa was adorned with wet clothing hanging from every available doorknob. A visit to the cooler with frozen candy bars Cameron discovered at the empty marina shop became the focal point of our day. Much like my MO during unplanned snow day togetherness, I took out Uno, the game of life, and our stash of family-friendly DVDs, unearthed from duffel bags in storage. The boys were underwhelmed. School of Rock, Mom? Really? Cameron said. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade? I said perkily, trying to convince my teens and myself of this snappy alternative. No response. Apparently, our collection was dated. The tapping on phones, tablets, and laptops resumed. Like an overzealous, slightly desperate camp counselor, I scavenged vacation games from my children's even younger years. But no one was enthused about an innocent round of bananagrams, or up for tic-tac-toe, or a go at hangman. Morale was at an all-time low. I resorted to pitching a detailed laundry lesson, asking the boys if they'd like to perfect their skills, get a head start on their college years. Guys, how about I teach you how to do wash? There were no takers. Even during the few hints of sun, the kids were awash in beach boredom, wanting to head back to the pool 45 minutes in. Gone were the days where they'd make instant friends with the bribe of burying my husband in the sand. At 14 and 17, there was no carrot to coax them into finding Bermuda blokes. On one of the wetter days, I almost arranged a playdate with a 15-year-old-ish stranger in the elevator. There were no typical distractions for rainy day on vacations, no arcades, outlets, or malls in which to play, shop, or loiter. Even if there were, we didn't have a car. Gilligan-like, I was shipwrecked on Teenage Isle. I penned this essay as my official SOS. We were also running out of food, just when grocery stores shut down for 2 days due to Cup Match, Bermuda's time-honored cricket tournament, celebrated with the fervor rivaling the rowdiest of Super Bowl parties. Upon hearing the news, Grant and Cameron started vying for the last frosted strawberry Pop-Tart, the next day's breakfast. Everyone was cranky, picking fights and forming alliances like unlikely teammates in a reality show. Oh, and in the height of the humidity, I misplaced my go-to curl calmer hair gel. My natural locks succumbed to a full-fledged frizz fest, true to popular 80s form. There was even talk of changing our flights and going home earlier despite returning to the Northeast's oppressive heat wave. But happier moments snuck through, sweet in their surprise, glimpses into the gold of family time. Cameron, our budding comic, made for dinner theater with his spot-on celebrity impressions and one-liners. He'd inherited my funny bone. Grant, though quieter, found his voice. I caught him harmonizing more than once to Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young's Deja Vu, uploaded on my iPhone when his ran out of juice. Mark and I stole a date at the pool where we sat on soaked lounge chairs, sharing the one remaining Heineken. During the worst downpour, 3.5 inches to be exact, the four of us teamed up to make a home movie with footage of Mark's less-than-stellar wet golf game. We chuckled in unison, chiming in with ideas for background music and apropos captions. I named it Golf Guy. During intermittent dry bouts, the boys rode teal-tinged waves, their youthful skin still garnering a deep tan, albeit through the clouds. Mark caught up on emails and calls. I stole away to the spa for a massage more than once. Being thrust indoors for the duration wasn't as bad as I buckled in for. We not only endured our rain-kissed vacation, we triumphed and left a little closer than we'd arrived. New memories were born, as were indelible, unfiltered selfies, souvenirs for our psyches. While packing unused Coppertone lotion, I decided sunshine just might be overrated. Liner notes. After that Bermuda vacation, the boys rebelled against future 2-week stays. Little did they know their interrupted COVID-era college and graduate school years would grant us months on end of family time. Fun fact, I am happy to report Grant and Cameron have swimmingly mastered laundry. That's it. Thank you. Third trivia question, here we go. What was the name of the famous nightclub in New York City that opened in 1977? Okay, right there, wait. Studio 54, I'm sorry, I have to be right. Alyssa, yes. So now for the, do I need a drum roll? I think I might need a drum roll for this.
Drum roll, yeah.
All right, did everyone put their name in? I hope so, because we're rolling. Okay. Bonnie O'Regan. Where's Bonnie right here?
Oh.
David Cassidy made the cut.
Oh, yes.
It's got Mad Libs. Stop it. I can't, right?
Yeah.
I'm so into the Q&As. I'm putting my glasses
Jackie
on
has one.
to look right early. Okay, yes.
How long did it take you to get it out there, and what was the, like, when did you know, like, you were gonna do it?
The book. Well, I think the whole thing was maybe almost 3 years. I took a year off because I got really into stand-up, and I sort of blew off the essays, but essays are my first love. Stand-up was like my mistress. I cheated on my essay. So it just, again, it was that whole like timing thing, but maybe door to door, close to 3 years, because there's just, I didn't know. I market a lot of authors and do PR for them, and now I feel their pain, because they would be like in the fetal position crying over like the formatter or the proofreader or somebody didn't get back to them. I'm like, come on, just get it together here. Let's do the book and have the party. So it's a longer process than you think. Having a finished manuscript is awesome, but there's still several steps along the way before it's up there on Amazon. So kind of 3 years, but again, there were some stops and starts.
Some other questions? Anyone?
Aline, hi, longtime friend Tessa, Holy Cross.
Yes, Crusaders represent.
Yep, so I know you well, but what is your favorite?
Oh,
Great
that's
question.
so hard. Okay, well, I'm just going to go with the 42 in the book, not the slosh pile. Isn't that what they used to call it in publishing? Slush. Slush. I think I'm going to go with an essay called Center Stage, because as I mentioned before, I grew up in this theatrical home. It's sort of a story within a story. It's about my mom directing us in all sorts of plays, and specifically Sound of Music was our favorite. And it sort of doubles as a story about our life, this like theatrical youth, and doubles as a tribute to her. And it has a little shout out to Christopher Plummer. Remember, Captain Von Trapp worked out at my gym, and I saw him every Tuesday and Thursday for 10 years. And I still was like, he like held the door for me, and I was like, do I curtsy? Do I start singing? So he gets a shout out in there too. But it just sort of combines all the Aline elements. And I just love that it salutes my mom too, because she's the OG storyteller in our family.
Yep.
Yeah.
Was there another question?
I saw another hand somewhere. Yes.
So I know memoirists get this question a lot, and I think similarly with essays. Was there anyone in your life who was giving you pushback about a certain essay, like don't put that one in, or that's embarrassing, or anything like that?
Okay, so a great piece of advice that was given in writing class and also with all my stand-up teachers is never share like your ideas with your spouse, your kids. Oh, everyone has lots of input and opinions and all of that. And I really, all of the stories portray people in a good light. So nobody really, fought me on anything. And I really wanted to celebrate different people, different friends, family members. So I think at first, even though they might have been hesitant, they're kind of psyched now. Like I'm going to probably get some text like, why aren't I in there? Now people are going to want to be in. But not really in this case, because it wasn't like a straight memoir. Jennifer right here was so nice to do a review and said it was akin to a variety show. And I just love that, because I'm a variety show. So I just love that it was sort of different stories. So I jumped around and nobody really got hurt. Yeah.
Great. Any other questions?
Yes, Mike.
Aline, I'm just wondering, when are you guys planning on dropping the next episode of Mark Weiler, Golf Guy?
Yes, we're working on, currently Grant is here, we're working on the follow-up movie. I know, he got a little flack today, but listen, you're inside in the rain for 2 weeks with teenagers. We sort of were losing it. But yes, part 2 is in the works after the Achilles heel.
So Aline is obviously here signing books at the table to my left. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you so much. Thank you.